There are moments in life when time seems to stand still, when a single photograph can capture decades of growth, transformation, and timeless elegance. For Kate, turning 44 wasn't just another birthday. It was a celebration of a woman who had evolved from a shy college student into one of the world's most photographed and admired figures. As she stood before her mirror on that crisp April morning, adjusting a simple pearl necklace that had become her signature, she couldn't help but smile at the journey that had brought her here. The world had watched her every move, analyzed every outfit choice, and celebrated every milestone. But behind the camera flashes and designer gowns lived a woman whose story was far more complex and inspiring than any tabloid headline could capture. From her first tentative steps into public life, to becoming a global icon of style and substance, Kate's journey had been nothing short of extraordinary. Today, as we celebrate her 44th year, we revisit not just the stunning appearances that made headlines around the world, but the woman behind them, the careful thought that went into each choice, the personal growth that shaped her confidence, and the quiet moments of doubt that made her victories all the more meaningful. This is the story of how an ordinary girl became an extraordinary woman, one unforgettable appearance at a time. The morning of Kate's 44th birthday began like many others in her carefully orchestrated life. Yet something felt different. As sunlight filtered through the Georgian windows of her home, casting warm patterns across the polished wooden floors, she found herself drawn to an old leather photo album tucked away in her private study. The album, worn at the edges from years of handling, contained memories that the public had never seen. Candid shots, behind-the-scenes moments, and personal reflections that told a story far richer than any official portrait. Kate settled into her favorite armchair, the one William had surprised her with for their anniversary, and opened the album to the first page. There, staring back at her, was a photograph from her university days at St. Andrews. She barely recognized the young woman in the image, carefree, laughing with friends, completely unaware that her life was about to change forever. The Kate in that photograph wore simple jeans and a university sweatshirt, her hair pulled back in a casual ponytail, no makeup, no designer accessories. It was perhaps the most honest version of herself she had ever been. The transformation hadn't happened overnight. Kate remembered those early days when every public appearance felt like stepping onto a stage where she hadn't learned her lines. The first formal event she attended with William was a charity dinner in London. She had spent weeks preparing, consulting with stylists, practicing her posture, learning the proper protocol. The navy blue dress she chose seemed safe enough, elegant but not too flashy, appropriate but not forgettable. Yet when she saw the photographs the next day, she realized that safe wasn't necessarily what she wanted to be remembered for. That realization marked the beginning of her style evolution. Kate understood that fashion wasn't just about looking beautiful. It was about communication, diplomacy, and representation. Every choice she made would be scrutinized, analyzed, and interpreted. A simple brooch could honor a nation's heritage. A dress color could send a message of solidarity. A recycled outfit could demonstrate values of sustainability and practicality. The weight of such responsibility might have crushed someone else, but Kate found it empowering. Her first major royal engagement was at a state dinner welcoming a foreign dignitary. Kate spent hours with her stylist trying on different options, considering not just how she looked but what message each ensemble would send. They settled on a stunning emerald green gown that paid homage to both British designers and traditional craftsmanship. The dress featured intricate beadwork that caught the light beautifully, and the color complemented both her complexion and the significance of the evening. When Kate descended the grand staircase that night, she felt a shift within herself. This wasn't the nervous young woman who had worried about protocol and proper behavior. This was someone who understood her role and embraced it fully. The confidence she felt translated into every photograph from that evening. Her smile was genuine, her posture regal, and her interactions with guests warm and engaging. The press coverage was overwhelmingly positive, but more importantly, Kate felt she had found her authentic voice in this new world. The months that followed brought a series of appearances that would define her early reputation. There was the visit to a children's hospital, where she chose to wear a cheerful yellow dress that brightened the sterile hospital corridors and brought smiles to young faces. The color choice wasn't accidental. Child psychologists had long noted that bright, warm colors could lift spirits and create positive associations. Kate's research into such details became a hallmark of her approach to public appearances. Another memorable moment came during a cultural festival celebrating the arts. Kate arrived wearing a vintage-inspired ensemble that honored classical fashion while incorporating modern elements. The outfit featured a structured jacket with clean lines paired with a flowing skirt that moved beautifully as she walked. The combination was both sophisticated and approachable, allowing her to connect with everyone from elderly art patrons to young drama students. The event photos captured her genuine enthusiasm as she watched performances, tried traditional crafts, and engaged in meaningful conversations with artists. But perhaps the most transformative appearance from this early period was at a garden party hosted for various charitable organizations. Kate chose to wear a floral dress that seemed to echo the blooming gardens around her. The print was delicate without being fussy, and the cut was flattering while remaining modest. What made this appearance special wasn't just the visual impact, but the way Kate moved through the event. She spent genuine time with each group, asking thoughtful questions about their work and listening intently to their responses. The photographs from that garden party told a story that went beyond fashion. They showed a woman who had learned to balance her public role with her personal values. In one image, she was crouched down at eye level with a young girl who was excitedly showing her a handmade craft project. Kate's expression was one of pure interest and delight. Her formal posture relaxed into something more natural and maternal. It was a glimpse of the person she was becoming, someone who could maintain dignity and protocol while still connecting authentically with others. During quiet moments at home, Kate would sometimes look back at these early appearances and marvel at her own journey. She remembered the hours of preparation, the careful consideration of every detail, and the gradual building of confidence that came with each successful engagement. William would often find her in her dressing room, surrounded by photographs and notes, planning her next appearance with the thoroughness of a military strategist. "You know," he would say with a smile, "most people just get dressed in the morning." Kate would laugh, but they both understood that her choices were never just about getting dressed. Every appearance was an opportunity to represent their values, support important causes, and inspire others. The young woman who had once worried about choosing the right dress had evolved into someone who understood the power of visual communication and used it purposefully. The evolution wasn't without its challenges. There were appearances that didn't go as planned, outfits that were criticized, and moments when the pressure felt overwhelming. Kate learned to take both praise and criticism in stride, understanding that perfection was impossible, but authenticity was always achievable. She developed a personal style that balanced royal protocol with individual expression, creating looks that were both respectful and distinctively her own. As she reflected on this period of growth and discovery, Kate realized that these early appearances had taught her lessons that extended far beyond fashion. She had learned about preparation, confidence, authenticity, and the importance of connecting with others despite the formal constraints of royal life. Each outfit choice had been a small act of courage, a step toward becoming the woman she was meant to be in this extraordinary role. By her mid-30s, Kate had established herself as a fashion icon. But more importantly, she had found her voice as a public figure. The nervous uncertainty of her early years had given way to a sophisticated understanding of her role and its possibilities. This period of her life was marked by appearances that showcased not just her evolving style, but her growing confidence in using her platform for meaningful purposes. The first major shift came during a state visit to Canada. Kate had always been meticulous about respecting the cultures and traditions of the places she visited, but this trip represented a new level of diplomatic fashion awareness. For the welcome ceremony in Ottawa, she chose a stunning red and white ensemble that paid perfect homage to the Canadian flag while maintaining her signature elegance. The coat dress was tailored to perfection, featuring subtle maple leaf embroidery that was noticeable without being overstated. What made this appearance truly memorable wasn't just the obvious symbolism, but the way Kate carried herself throughout the day. She moved through the crowds with genuine warmth, switching effortlessly between French and English as she spoke with different groups. The photographs captured her animated conversations with young students, her respectful attention during traditional ceremonies, and her obvious delight in experiencing Canadian culture firsthand. The red and white outfit became a backdrop for these interactions rather than the main focus, which was exactly what Kate had intended. The Canadian trip also featured an evening gala where Kate chose to wear a breathtaking midnight blue gown that seemed to capture the northern lights in its flowing fabric. The dress was a masterpiece of craftsmanship, featuring subtle beading that caught the light as she moved. But again, what elevated this appearance beyond mere fashion was Kate's engagement with the event's purpose. The gala was raising funds for environmental conservation, and Kate spent the evening in deep conversation with scientists, activists, and young people working on climate solutions. One photograph from that evening became particularly iconic. Kate was seated at a round table, leaning forward with obvious interest as a teenage environmental activist explained her research project. The formal ballroom setting and Kate's elegant gown created a striking contrast with the earnest, informal conversation taking place. The image perfectly captured Kate's evolution into someone who could maintain royal dignity while genuinely connecting with people of all ages and backgrounds. The success of the Canadian tour marked a turning point in how Kate approached her public appearances. She began taking more risks, both in her fashion choices and in the causes she chose to support. A visit to a rehabilitation center for young people struggling with addiction saw her choosing a more casual, approachable outfit that wouldn't create barriers between herself and the vulnerable young people she was meeting. The soft lavender sweater and tailored trousers were elegant but not intimidating, professional but not distant. During this visit, Kate participated in art therapy sessions, group discussions, and one-on-one conversations. The photographs showed her painting alongside recovering addicts, listening intently to personal stories, and offering genuine encouragement. Her outfit choices for the day reflected her understanding that sometimes the most powerful thing she could do was step back from formality and meet people where they were. A particularly transformative moment came during her patronage of several mental health organizations. Kate had always been passionate about mental health awareness, but this period saw her taking on more challenging and visible roles in addressing the stigma surrounding mental illness. For a symposium on children's mental health, she chose a sophisticated navy suit that conveyed authority and professionalism while remaining approachable. The symposium was Kate's first major speaking engagement on a topic she cared deeply about. She had spent months preparing, not just her remarks, but her entire presentation. The navy suit was carefully chosen to project competence and seriousness, while the subtle feminine touches in the blouse and jewelry maintained her personal style. When she took the stage that day, Kate felt a familiar flutter of nerves, but also a new sense of purpose. Her speech was personal, professional, and powerful. She spoke about her own experiences with anxiety, the importance of early intervention, and the need for society to treat mental health with the same urgency as physical health. The audience was captivated not just by her message, but by the obvious sincerity behind it. The photographs from that day showed Kate in a new light as a serious advocate and thought leader, not just a stylish public figure. The response to her mental health work was overwhelmingly positive, and it opened doors to more substantial roles in addressing social issues. Kate began taking on engagements that required more than just showing up and looking appropriate. She was now researching complex issues, meeting with experts, and developing real expertise in areas she cared about. This evolution was perhaps most visible during a series of appearances focused on early childhood development. Kate had become fascinated with research showing how crucial the first 5 years of life were for long-term outcomes. For a major conference on the topic, she chose a vibrant teal dress that was both professional and optimistic. The color was particularly meaningful. Research suggested that certain colors could influence mood and perception, and Kate wanted to project hope and possibility. The conference was a watershed moment. Kate didn't just attend. She co-hosted sessions, participated in panel discussions, and delivered a keynote address that drew on months of research and preparation. The teal dress became secondary to the substance of her contributions, which was exactly what she had hoped for. The press coverage focused on her ideas and insights rather than just her appearance, marking a new phase in her public role. Throughout this period, Kate's personal style continued to evolve. She began working with a broader range of designers, including emerging talents and sustainable fashion advocates. Her choices became more adventurous while remaining appropriate for her role. A visit to a tech startup saw her in a sleek, modern ensemble that fit perfectly with the innovative environment. A cultural exchange with traditional craftspeople featured an outfit that incorporated handmade elements and honored traditional techniques. But perhaps the most significant development was how naturally Kate began to integrate fashion with function. Her choices were no longer just about looking appropriate. They were about enhancing her ability to do meaningful work. Comfortable shoes for long days walking through communities, practical fabrics that could withstand various activities, colors and styles that put others at ease and facilitated genuine connections. During a particularly memorable visit to a women's shelter, Kate chose to wear a warm, approachable cardigan over simple trousers. The outfit was unremarkable in fashion terms, but it was perfect for the situation. She spent hours sitting on floors with children, helping prepare meals and listening to difficult stories. The photographs showed her completely focused on the women and children she was meeting, her outfit choice allowing her to blend in rather than stand out. Kate's growing confidence was evident not just in her fashion choices, but in how she moved through these engagements. The careful, measured steps of her early years had given way to more natural movement. She laughed more easily, touched people more readily, and showed her genuine emotions more openly. This authenticity made her fashion choices more impactful because they were clearly in service of her genuine desire to connect and contribute. The transformation wasn't without its challenges. Some criticized her for becoming too political or straying from traditional royal roles. Others questioned whether her advocacy work was substantial enough to warrant the attention it received. Kate learned to navigate these criticisms while staying true to her evolving sense of purpose. She understood that growth inevitably brought scrutiny, but she was no longer willing to play it safe if it meant missing opportunities to make a real difference. By the end of this transformative period, Kate had established herself as more than just a fashion icon. She was a serious advocate, a thoughtful public speaker, and someone who understood how to use her platform responsibly. Her appearances had become more purposeful, her fashion choices more strategic, and her impact more measurable. The young woman who had once worried about choosing the right dress had become someone who used every tool at her disposal, including fashion, to advance causes she believed in. As Kate approached her 44th birthday, she had reached a level of sophistication and impact that few could have predicted from her early, tentative public appearances. The woman who had once carefully calculated every fashion choice now moved with an intuitive understanding of how to balance royal protocol with authentic self-expression. Her most recent appearances had demonstrated not just mastery of her public role, but a deep commitment to using her influence for lasting change. The months leading up to her birthday had been particularly significant. A major international summit on women's rights had provided the perfect stage for Kate to demonstrate how far she had come as both a style icon and a serious advocate. For the opening ceremony, she chose a powerful burgundy ensemble that commanded attention without overpowering her message. The structured blazer and coordinated skirt were impeccably tailored, but the real story was in the details. Jewelry featuring symbols of different women's rights movements, a subtle scarf that honored the suffragettes, and a handbag made by women artisans from a developing nation. Kate's speech at the summit was a masterclass in diplomatic communication. She spoke about the progress that had been made while acknowledging the work still to be done. Her words were carefully chosen, but they carried the weight of genuine conviction. The burgundy outfit provided the perfect visual framework for her message, serious and authoritative, but not intimidating or unapproachable. The photographs from that day showed Kate in animated conversation with world leaders, activists, and young women from around the globe. What made this appearance particularly memorable was a spontaneous moment that revealed Kate's evolution into someone comfortable with breaking protocol when the situation called for it. During a panel discussion, a young woman in the audience began crying while asking a question about domestic violence in her community. Without hesitation, Kate stepped down from the stage, approached the young woman, and offered both physical comfort and a listening ear. The cameras captured this unscripted moment of human connection, showing Kate's expensive outfit juxtaposed with her complete focus on providing support to someone in need. The image of Kate, elegant in burgundy, crouched beside a distressed young woman became one of the defining photographs of her public career. It perfectly encapsulated her journey from someone who followed rigid protocols to someone who understood when human connection mattered more than formal procedures. The fashion choice that had begun as a strategic decision became secondary to the genuine compassion she showed in that moment. A few weeks later, Kate made another appearance that demonstrated her sophisticated understanding of visual communication. A visit to a leading university's research facility required an outfit that would respect the academic environment while maintaining her role as a royal representative. She chose a midnight blue ensemble with clean lines and minimal embellishment, professional enough for the laboratory setting, but elegant enough for the formal presentation she would attend. During this visit, Kate participated in hands-on research activities, tried out new technologies, and engaged in complex discussions about scientific innovation. The photograph showed her completely absorbed in learning about breakthrough medical research, her outfit choice allowing her to move freely through different environments throughout the day. She looked equally comfortable examining microscopic samples in the lab and delivering remarks at the evening reception. This appearance was notable for how effortlessly Kate moved between different aspects of her role. The same outfit worked for scientific discussions, formal presentations, and casual conversations with students. Her comfort in these varied situations reflected years of experience and growing confidence in her ability to adapt while maintaining her authentic self. Perhaps the most emotionally significant appearance during this period was Kate's visit to a hospice for terminally ill children. The choice of what to wear to such a sensitive engagement required careful consideration of multiple factors, respecting the gravity of the situation while not adding to the somber atmosphere, looking appropriate for a medical facility while remaining approachable to frightened children and grieving families. Kate chose a soft, warm-colored dress that struck exactly the right balance. The fabric was comfortable enough for sitting on floors and hospital beds. The color was soothing rather than clinical, and the style was elegant without being ostentatious. She spent the entire day moving through the facility, reading stories to children, comforting families, and speaking with medical staff about their challenging work. The photographs from this visit were some of the most powerful of Kate's public career. They showed her holding hands with sick children, embracing grieving parents, and listening intently to the concerns of overworked nurses and doctors. Her outfit choice had perfectly supported her ability to connect with everyone she met, proving that the best fashion decisions were often those that became invisible in service of more important human connections. The impact of this visit extended far beyond the day itself. Kate's genuine engagement with the families and staff led to ongoing support for pediatric hospice care. She began working behind the scenes to raise funds, improve facilities, and advocate for better resources for families facing unthinkable circumstances. Her initial appearance had been just the beginning of a deeper commitment to this cause. As her birthday approached, Kate made one final significant appearance that seemed to summarize her evolution over the years. A celebration of arts education brought together students, teachers, and performers from across the country. For this joyful occasion, Kate chose a vibrant floral dress that reflected the creative energy of the event while maintaining her signature sophistication. The celebration was held in a beautiful historic venue, and Kate's dress seemed to echo both the classical architecture and the contemporary artistic expressions on display. She participated enthusiastically in various activities, trying pottery, joining a dance workshop, and even attempting to play several musical instruments. The photographs captured her genuine delight in these experiences, her laughter ringing out as she stumbled through a piano piece or created a lopsided ceramic bowl. This appearance was significant because it showed Kate completely comfortable with imperfection and spontaneity. The young woman who had once been terrified of making mistakes in public was now willing to try new things and laugh at herself when they didn't go perfectly. Her floral dress became paint-splattered during an art session, and instead of being concerned about the damage, she wore the colorful marks as badges of honor from a day well spent. The evening concluded with a formal performance featuring students from various schools. Kate sat in the audience, her slightly rumpled dress telling the story of an active, engaged day. She applauded enthusiastically, wiped away tears during particularly moving performances, and rose to give standing ovations to young performers who had clearly given their all. Later that evening, as Kate prepared for bed, she looked at herself in the mirror and smiled at the paint stains and wrinkles in her dress. Each mark told a story of connection, of moments when she had chosen engagement over appearance, substance over superficiality. The woman looking back at her was no longer the nervous young person who had worried about every detail of her presentation. This was someone who had learned to use fashion as a tool while never letting it become a barrier to authentic human connection. On the morning of her 44th birthday, as Kate sat in her study with the photo album on her lap, she realized that her most stunning appearances hadn't necessarily been the ones with the most expensive dresses or the most media attention. They had been the moments when she had used every tool at her disposal, including her carefully chosen outfits, to make real connections and create positive change. The young woman in those early photographs would barely recognize the confident, purposeful person Kate had become. The journey from nervous newcomer to seasoned advocate had been captured in countless images, each outfit telling part of the story of a woman who had learned to balance duty with passion, protocol with authenticity, and style with substance. As she prepared for whatever appearances and challenges the next year would bring, Kate felt ready for anything. She had learned that true elegance came not from perfect outfits, but from perfect intentions, and that the most memorable appearances were those where fashion served purpose rather than the other way around. At 44, she was no longer becoming the woman she was meant to be. She had arrived, and the world was watching with admiration and respect.